Have you ever realized that your repeated thoughts and ideas deeply shape your reality? If not, get ready. Hi there, my name is Kelly, and today we are continuing our conversation about tips, tricks, and techniques for manifesting abundance. Talking about affirmations, specifically, yes, affirmations. I have mentioned affirmation as a technique in my previous video, but I felt that it was necessary to create one specifically to explore, go deep into the subject. And today I decided to relate this concept of affirmation or affirmations with the concept of AutoSuggestion by Napoleon Hill. And for those of you who are into personal development, self-improvement, finance, wealth, entrepreneurship, you probably already know who Napoleon Hill is, right? And for those of you who don't know, Napoleon Hill is the author of Think and Grow Rich. That is probably considered a Bible of entrepreneurship, wealth, finance, I guess, because there are a lot of people that swear by this book. In my case, I read this book approximately 3 years ago, I believe, and now I am rereading. And then I decided to explore this because a few things caught my attention, and we will go over this in just a moment. But let's get started. First, let's define affirmations. So after all, what are affirmations? Affirmations are statements, phrases, or sentences that we keep repeating to reprogram our minds or our subconscious mind. And the idea is to overcome self-sabotage, get rid of limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, negative ideas to reprogram our minds for positivity. And affirmations are powerful too, and excuse me if I keep repeating powerful, but they really are, because they help us visualize and believe in what we are affirming to ourselves, creating positive changes in our thoughts and patterns, and with that, essentially improving ourselves in our lives, because we created those positive changes. Eventually, we raise our vibration, and then that's when things start happening. And you might be asking, so what is the relation between affirmations and the concept of auto-suggestion? This is exactly where Napoleon Hill comes into play, because he talks extensively about this concept of auto-suggestion and dedicated one chapter specifically about that. And in a nutshell, according to Hill, auto-suggestion is a technique that we can use to condition our subconscious mind through beliefs, thoughts, and affirmations. And there are some other things as well, but just in a nutshell. And I wanted to really explore this because as I reread the book, I see a connection with the law of attraction that I've been talking in a lot of my videos, and especially a lot of connection with the techniques, affirmations, and visualizations. And by the way, if you have watched my previous video where I talk about why visualizations fail for most people, and you can find this video right here, and I put the link in the description as well. But I also mention scientific reasons, and among the scientific reasons, I talk about the concept of neuroplasticity. That is this ability of the brain to mold, to adapt for us to learn. But hold this thought just a moment. Let's go here very quickly to the book. And here, Napoleon Hill says, there are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. In chapter 4, AutoSuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind, the third step to riches. By the way, I'm not reading the chapter. I just have a few nuggets that I want to go over here in our discussion. So Hill starts the chapter this way. Autosuggestion is a term that applies to all suggestion and all self-administered stimuli that reach one's mind through the five senses. Keep in mind the five senses, we will go over this in just a moment, but there is one paragraph here that hit me hard the first time I read and the second time around. And it says here, nature has so built us that we have absolute control over the material which reaches our subconscious mind through our five senses. Although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that we always exercise this control. In the great majority of instances, we do not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Let me read this again. Nature has so built us that we have absolute control over the material which reaches our subconscious mind through our five senses. Although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that we always exercise this control, in the great majority of instances we do not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. And this for me hit hard because when I think of those words, I just remember that because I have mentioned this in some of my previous videos, the financial difficulties that I used to experience before I have my spiritual awakening, before I got to understand some laws of the universe, the law of attraction, and work to reprogram my mind, change my mindset. It was exactly because of this, because I was actually self-sabotaging myself with negative self-talks and negative beliefs, with limiting beliefs. And what Hill says in terms of the autosuggestion is that we have the ability to control that with our senses. And let me keep it going here. Recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot in which weeds will grow in abundance if the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown there. Autosuggestion is the agency of control through which one individual may voluntarily feed the subconscious mind through thoughts of creative nature or by neglect permit thoughts of destructive nature to find their way into this rich garden of the mind. So again, what he says here is that our minds, and going back to the concept of neuroplasticity, our minds are malleable and open to all types of influences and thoughts, whether positive or negative. I have said this in one of my previous videos that our brains, our minds don't differentiate reality from fiction. That's why when I read this, I related with the law of attraction, where we attract positive or negative things depending on what we are thinking or vibrating. If we're thinking negative things, we attract more negative things. And on the other hand, if we think positive things, consequently, we will attract more positive things. But here it talks about how we can work to reprogram our subconscious mind to create specifically the reality we wanted, to create the riches we wanted through this fertile soil of positive emotions and ideas. And here he says, your subconscious mind recognizes and acts only upon thoughts that have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. And this is why he talks about we experience our thoughts and ideas with all of our senses, with our five senses. And he continued, and by the way, I'm not reading the whole chapter, it's just this last one. Plain unemotional words do not influence the subconscious mind. You will get no appreciable results until you learn to reach your subconscious mind with thoughts or spoken words that have been well emotionalized with belief. And getting back to this idea of belief, so what is belief? Beliefs are thoughts we keep thinking over and over again. And he talks about, again, this idea of we experience with all of our senses. And then that's what I wanted to connect what I've been saying about visualizing experience in the first and third person, as you see in your mind's eyes in third person, but also experience with your five senses as if you are there in the present moment. And also repeating those affirmations, because as you keep repeating those affirmations, you are starting to reprogram, to work on condition your mind to receive those positive things. And he talks about here, connect with the infinite intelligence, with source, with the divine, and they create the reality you wanted. And by the way, he offers summary of instruction that he goes very deeply and concisely with ideas that can help you, and I strongly recommend for you to check this. And by the way, I'm not an affiliate or anything. I do think that was relevant to bring to the discussion because this has a lot to do with the work that I'm doing and what I keep repeating throughout my videos about those techniques. So essentially, when we are repeating those affirmations again and again, we are practicing AutoSuggestion, and we are training our minds to get the thoughts of our choosing, obviously positive thoughts. And the magic here lies in the consistency and the reinforcement that comes with the affirmations. Pretty much think like this: you have a garden, you have a soil, and in the soil you can plant anything you want. However, this anything can be something positive or negative. And when you choose those positive thoughts, those positive ideas through affirmations, you plant the seeds of abundance, success, and positivity into your life. And this creates a ripple effect because you will raise your vibration, and then you see the transformation happening in different areas of your life. And this is why when I talk about abundance, I talk abundance holistically, not only monetarily, because when one aspect of your life is positively affected, essentially will reflect in the other areas. But this strategic repetition that comes with affirmation is what helps our subconscious mind to essentially change. And remember, getting back to this idea of visualizing, one of the main points he emphasizes here is that feel with all your senses as if you're living this reality in the present moment, as if you have already received it. Because as you keep reprogramming your mind, soon you receive the impulses from the universe, and then you can create a plan of action. Eventually, at some point, you're gonna have to take inspired action, because this is the main point also of you manifesting your abundance. You need to take inspired action. But as you work on your affirmations and visualizations or AutoSuggestion, at some point you reprogram your mind and you're gonna receive the impulses from the divine source, God, infinite intelligence, that what he calls here for you to take action. And then be very mindful when you receive those impulses. But this is when you are starting to essentially get to work and manifest the things you want, the reality you want. So if you have read this book and if you have a different take, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say, or any other comments about this discussion. It's something that I'm very passionate about, because Hill was talking about, but was not using the word manifestation, but essentially that what looks like for me. And even though he doesn't mention, he talks a lot about the law of attraction. But anyway, if you want to learn more tips, tricks, and techniques for manifesting abundance. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know the next time I upload my new videos. And welcome for those of you who are new here, and welcome back those of you that have been following my videos. I appreciate all of you, but this is what I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time. Take care.